everyone, Andrea Fenton here, and in the spirit of this video's message of being authentic, I just wanted to share a quick note. While I am not new to working with people to improve their health, I was completely new to interviewing on camera when this video was filmed, as was my wonderful husband. This was my first video, and I actually watched a Matthew Hussey video a few days before we filmed that came at a perfect time to help me step out of my comfort zone. Relational intelligence and confidence coach Matthew Hussey said in his video that generosity of spirit is the antidote to shyness. I wanted to create this content to reach more of you and help you live your healthiest, happiest life, whatever that means for you. For me, that required letting go of my camera shyness and taking this leap. So please be kind. And remember, at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live your life, not your friends, not your family, you. Thank you so much for watching. Hi, I'm Andrea Fenton, Integrative Nutrition Health Coach. And today I have my husband, James Fenton, here.
Hello.
And we're talking about the importance of being your authentic self. So, there's a lot of times, whether it's personal or professional, it may be tempting to tell someone what they want to hear in the moment because you think it's easier in the short term. But ultimately, being honest and authentic is always the best way to go. Of course, this can be done in a gentle, kind way. You don't have to be harsh about it, but it's always the better way to go for the long term, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I've developed professionally a relationship with people where they know and they can trust what I say is truly my opinion. And, I cultivate an understanding of this is my opinion. If you disagree, then that's fine. We can walk down that road, but just know that I'm disagreeing, that I have reservations about this or concerns or whatever, or just here are the risks. And if you're okay moving forward with those, that's great.
Yeah.
And, with you,
mm-hmm.
I know that you've told me before that one of the things that you really appreciate about me is that I'm honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know that there are times that bites me in the ass. Truly, I know that there are, but I think overall, you appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's better to know up front, what you're dealing with and know that there's not any surprises. And from the beginning with you, I could tell that you were, even if it wasn't, like, you would never just say something just because you thought that's what I wanted to hear, which I always appreciated because that was very refreshing and a little bit like, whoa, at first, because that's not something I was used to.
Yeah.
And I think that's not how a lot of people operate, not necessarily because they intend to be, not genuine or whatever, but it's just something that I think from a young age, many of us are kind of subconsciously almost trained to do, just to get through life.
I don't know how subconscious it is. I think it's very conscious.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the person, the situation. But yeah.
Well,
true.
Your parents, do what I say and not what I do. Or, it's very much like it's ingrained from us from the beginning.
Ingrained, I guess that's what the better word. Yeah, what I'm. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. Yeah.
And then, there is that subconscious piece that, through watching, popular culture and TV, movies, or, just pleasantries out in the world, there's like kind of this air of facade that's out there. So, you're kind of getting it from both angles to be disingenuous with yourself.
Yeah. And these, just operating in that way on a day-to-day basis, over a period of time, I think a lot of us, like you said, it's ingrained, it becomes habit. And without making yourself aware of how much you're doing it or how that might be affecting you, wearing a mask, so to speak, just to fit in or meet others' expectations, that can be very emotionally exhausting. And it can inhibit our growth in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, it comes back to, honesty. And, if you're saying something that's disingenuous, or you're saying something that's not wholly true or something like that, you can get lost in, keeping track of your lies, or keeping track of your mistruths, or keeping, like, a lot of times we'll be talking about something and you'd be like, oh, you said this to me. And I'd be like, that does sound like something I'd say. Because like, I know that it rings true with, kind of my positions and my values. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or like, sometimes people will be like, oh, you said this. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like something that I would say. I don't think that I said that. And it's like a little easier to keep that straight, because your own morals, your own internal, if you're living with your honest self, or at least trying to, you know where those lines are, and you can say, I wouldn't have crossed that, or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think a lot of us stay in relationships or jobs or lots of different situations where we know it's not right, and it delays us pursuing fulfillment and happiness in our lives when we do that. And that can ultimately lead to a lot of regret, because there does become a breaking point where you can't do that anymore. And you've delayed experiences that the right things can bring along. And and pushing yourself to be brave and face however you've been just kind of going along day to day, like, oh, well, this is who I've told myself that I am, this is who I am, like, this career defines me, so that's what I have to be, that's all I know how to be, it's what I know, it's somewhat comfortable. To veer from that would take a lot. But ultimately, what is it costing you when you do that?
Well, and like you were saying earlier, it's at times subconscious. Like, I know that there's a lot of people who wake up and regret that they had kids, or why am I in this career, and it's like they took all these steps to get to where, like, they obviously consciously took all those steps to get to where they are, but it's like, well, why did I take those steps? And like, you don't always process what that is. So yeah, I mean, like, consciously you can be trying to deceive your, live a dishonest life, I guess, but like, subconsciously you can also just kind of wake up and find yourself in that too.
Well, and that speaks to societal pressure or family pressure, some of the things you were just talking about, like family choices, career choices. And yeah, I mean, I think ultimately when you push something down, maybe, or don't realize, what you want, or if you just go along thinking that these are the things I should do because it's what I've been told, and you haven't questioned that, or made an effort to realize that, you can wake up one day and be like, oh my gosh, what did I do? That's why, it's important to make mistakes, to experience things, to experiment, to explore, to know what you like, what you don't like, whether or not your life choices are something that's widely accepted or not. Ultimately, it's the best thing for you, for your health, for your, hopefully, your family ultimately wants you to be happy, even if that's not the life they envisioned for you. And you know, like for example, we are child free. We are not going to just have kids just because society thinks that we should. And you know, that is a, you know, out of the norm, non-traditional lifestyle. You know, and there are many different types of non-traditional, quote, you know, lifestyles that, hey, in my opinion, you're not hurting anyone. Be happy, live your life. So I think that's something that a lot of people are afraid to, like, oh, is it going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? Like, ultimately, it is damaging to your health to live a double life or live inauthentically. I mean, physical health effects long-term from the stress and anxiety of that. Just, I mean, it's inevitable. These chronic health conditions from that are inevitable.
I mean, we just watched The Whale. I mean, that is
a
movie about living, well, I mean, I guess he in a lot of ways was living authentically, but
well, he was punishing himself for life choices, but that was heartbreaking. but you could see the physical effects of his emotional turmoil. Yes. So everything is connected, and
it all stems from him living inauthentically, having a daughter and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I mean, like, living authentically, I think, can take a lot of work. That I think at times people are afraid to do necessarily too, because it's a little bit easier to just kind of go along with, you know, whatever the expectation is, or oh, well, you know, my mom's pressuring me for grandkids, so, you know, it's just easier to just get her off my back or whatever. But then,
or my mom wants me to be a doctor or whatever these people, you know, if a family business or whatever the expectation is.
But, you know, then you find yourself, you know, stuffing things that are authentic to yourself down, and then trying to cope with that through, you know, various methods, right? Like, you know, alcohol, drugs, food, you know, or, you know, mindless, just whatever, you know.
The coping with the struggle. I mean, the cost of not being yourself is, I mean, for some people, like in The Whale, his boyfriend killed himself. Yes. The cost for some people, it's just they can't deal with it. And I mean, obviously people deal with stress and circumstances and just all these different things in so many different ways. But ultimately, no matter what, it is not good for you.
And like, you know, suicide particularly is something that is, you know, ravaging, I guess, men particularly right now, you know, and I think I you know, I don't have like a background in all this, but I think I can.
Well, you're a man, you can speak as a man.
But, you know, I think some of that is stemming from living inauthentically. You know, it's, oh, well, you know, I'm supposed to get married, and I'm supposed to have kids, and I'm supposed to be successful at work, and I'm supposed to, you know, like, you know, that's, I mean, it's ravaging men, and certainly I think men my age. And, you know, I think that if you do a lot of the work, then you're able to live freely. And I mean, like the unburdening of yourself for a lot of things, like I'm trying to think how to explain this. Like, for me, it's like, you know that it's wrong. Like you can just kind of feel, you know, it's like you just feel that something's off, or there's something in the back of your mind that's just like constantly tugging at your thoughts to like pull you away, or like, why am I so unhappy? You know, it's like there's just constantly something that's like, what, you know, what is going on? And, you know, I think that, like suicide and all that is huge for men, particularly because they don't do a lot of this work. They're not told to probe their feelings, probe themselves. You know, I'm not. You know that I'm not the most emotionally reactive person or whatever. I process my emotions intellectually, but
but you're processing them, which is that is the important thing.
Yeah.
Is that you're not shoving things down. You are dealing with, everyone deals with things in different ways, and different things work for different people, but you deal with it regardless, and that's is important.
Because I kind of had to.
Yeah.
And at so many different times in my life, I have had to kind of confront that ugly truth of, something just doesn't feel right. Why am I feeling this way? Or, I mean, in some cases, it's like things definitely don't feel right. Like, why don't, like, how can I even like look back up and start going in the right direction?
Yeah.
I mean, it's at times it can be difficult, right? But, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's important to recognize when something's off. And we should all be in tune with ourselves and with checking in with ourselves. Instead of just going along with the status quo, or going along with something just because it's, this is the way it's always been, or this is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. Am I where I am? Am I on this path because it's really who I am? Or am I doing this because I'm avoiding something that I'm afraid of? And I mean, usually, hopefully, on the other side of that, like you said, you are freer, because you are living authentically. You're not living a double life, or you're not living a half full life. You're able to just be yourself. The only thing you will lose by being real is something that's fake. So it opens up your life. It can only open up your life when you're who you really are.
Yeah, I mean, I early in my career, I have stretched ears, and I have some tattoos.
You have a lot of tattoos.
Certainly now I have more than I did back then.
Yeah.
Right. But early on in my career, I felt the need to kind of conform a little bit more to how I thought the corporate world would dress. And I kind of got away from what I was really happy with. I was kind of keeping my body how I wanted to. But yeah, I was dressing very inauthentically because I thought, oh, I need to present, confidence, and I need to present capability, and I need to look smart, and I have to, prove my worth in a way by how I dressed. And let's see. So it was only probably about until like 5 years ago where I kind of redefined how I felt about my corporate wardrobe. I think now I do have a very healthy middle ground of dressing professionally, but still putting the spin and flair on it that I want. And, some of that, and maybe easier for me to say too, because I'm older now and I feel less pressure to prove myself because I have a track record. So I don't know. Yeah.
And also just naturally with getting older, I think.
Yeah.
We're just like, I just want to be myself. I want to be, yeah, but yeah, it does.
Do you think it's age related?
I think it can play a part in a lot of aspects.
No, because it's like.
But you're right. Like once you have a proven track record and you have like the goods to back up, like, oh, I know my stuff. Then it is easier to just be like, my work speaks for itself. So.
Well, and maybe it's like when you're younger, you start digging and you haven't dug very far, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, what's so wrong with. But then like you just keep going.
You haven't explored enough.
Yeah, and then and you keep like going down this path or whatever, and you keep digging yourself into this hole, and eventually you're in this deep coal mine, and you're like, why the hell am I still digging?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
And then you feel the pressure of all that stuff that's on top of you.
Yeah.
When you're young, it's just like, oh yeah, this is fine. And then you're like, you got the weight of all this distance. I don't know, just a theory.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about that with in my career.
Hmm.
Um, for everyone out there, I worked in the dental field almost 20 years, and as a hygienist, there were other things I could have, I could have explored, gotten certified in, and everything that when I was initially licensed, you couldn't be because it wasn't legal in the state yet, and then
Hmm.
something sort of expanded. And I could have just kept doing that, but then as I got further into that, and I realized, it was affecting me physically, and then there were just a lot of things that where I just felt like I wanted to explore more, expand in my life more into what I'm doing now and helping people in a bigger way.
Hmm.
That yeah, I was like, no, I'm instead of going, I want to go this way. I
Hmm.
want to,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, and but that goes back to what I was saying. If you check in with yourself
Yeah.
and see what else there is to explore, maybe that you want to try, see what you like, don't like,
Yeah.
that only makes you grow, whether it's you discover something, a new path that you're happier in,
Hmm.
or you discover some things that you can rule out.
Hmm.
At least you won't have that regret
Yeah.
from not exploring things, and you won't have regret from staying in something too long that is not right for you.
Yeah.
And ultimately there's just this inner conflict, this inner struggle
Yeah.
within you that you know causes high blood pressure, trouble sleeping, weakened immune system,
Mm.
all these things that stress causes over time, that it just wreaks havoc on your health. That it's just yeah, it's important to check in with yourself, and it's important to be in tune with yourself and your values and your strengths. And some strengths, you might have some strengths that you're not even aware of yet, that you will discover
Mm.
from exploring, and your
That's true.
world just keeps opening up and getting bigger and bigger because of that. And you can only grow and get happier from doing that.
True.
So yeah, I mean, it's just it's a very important topic that I definitely wanted to cover
Yeah,
with you
it's
guys.
like a compounding thing. I like what you were saying
Yeah,
there. Yeah, like
yeah.
yeah, like you discover one truth, and then that leads you to another and another and
Mhm.
another, and then like
Mhm.
eventually, yeah, like you've kind
Mhm.
of become this fully formed you,
Mhm.
and you're how you
Mhm.
want to be,
Mhm.
and yeah, I like that. Yeah, the
Mhm.
compounding. I like that.
Mhm. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please find me at Instagram at AG Fenton. You can send me a message there to schedule your free consultation. Like and subscribe to my YouTube, and we will see you soon. Thank you so much.